So let's start off a little bit by just kind of going over a few things as far as like introductions to who you are, to who I am, for anyone else that is unfamiliar with us, any of the new follows, any of the new people who are coming in because of minting their access pass and becoming a founder and a variant.
Absolutely. Here we go. Okay. Sorry, I was setting up my stuff over here. OBS can be a fun thing. Hello. I am TH3 Spencer V. I stream over on the Red platform on YouTube. That is my handle. I've been streaming for a couple years now, which is wild to say, actually, and
Right.
creating long form content, short form content that entire time. Been a massive fan of video games literally my entire life. I don't know anybody who would be watching this that hasn't been the case, but I mainly focus on Destiny 2 content. I do thoroughly enjoy first person shooters, Call of Duty before it went to crap, and Apex now has been just phenomenal. But I'm just a gamer at heart, man. I love all kinds of games, different genres, different board games, card games, whatever you name it, and I am generally there.
Gotcha. Well, Spencer has been someone who I have been in contact with for quite a long time. Is there a link
Yeah,
for
we've
his
known each
channel?
other for like a year and a
I
half.
can
But
get you a link. Yeah, and you were actually the reason for my first introduction into tournament play for Warzone. So,
I forgot
little
that
tidbit
you.
there.
Yeah, my tournament that I hosted a long time ago now was your
Yeah,
first foyer, as it were.
you forgot that I absolutely ran that tournament,
You
dropping
did.
20 plus kills. Oh my gosh. Anyway, so, for those of you who do not know who I am on either side, my name is Lemon Lime. I am a competitive and passionate gamer. I strive to try to make sure that everybody knows. Everybody knows that I am here to try to help people improve at their video game skill. My goal is to become a FPS coach. I would absolutely love to be able to do that. And with that being said, I try to go into detail as much as possible with almost any game that I touch, whether it be Call of Duty, recently Escape from Tarkov. We've been playing a lot of that. Halo as well, Halo Infinite. I actually really enjoyed Halo Infinite as far as like the gameplay itself, so I have a couple of deep dives into that. And I am so excited to get hands on with Project Moon and see what it is that they are going to be pushed with this. I have been playing video games for shit, probably 19 years of my 27-year life. I actually don't have a memory where video games are not involved, whether it be Nintendo DS or Game Boy Advance SP or something of that sort.
Pokemon, baby.
Yep. So video games are a very, very large passion for me, and that in itself is going to be something that kind of transition us into kind of the next point is the reason why we're here when it comes to Project Moon, why we are here when it comes to going through the application process and actually sitting here and trying to become founders for this and push forward into being able to be one of those lucky few to actually get early hands-on to the game itself. What was it for you, Spencer, that like when you saw that they were accepting applications, like what was your initial thought of trying to go through the application and like what you were expecting to come out of it?
Yeah. So this kind of plays into some other points I think that we're going to talk about. But I have been a large Doctor Disrespect fan for a very long time. Doc, I think, is a personality that is unmatched in the game. I mean, you just
True.
can't match the two time. You just can't. And
Very true. Very true.
yeah,
Whether you like him or not, you can't.
facts. Absolute facts. And so, seeing that he was creating or going to create a video game was beyond interesting to me for sure, and it definitely piqued my interest. Because the thing is, in fact, I think you and I have had conversations about this briefly in the past, but how a lot of these new Call of Duty games were missing a lot of the map design elements that Guy actually brought in, Doc whatever, brought into his Call of Duties, right? And so following him for a long time and being a part of the Champions Club and his community, I've always kind of missed his hand in Call of Duty since he left.
Right.
And so seeing him do that, I was very, very excited. I knew it was going to be great, right? The audio in this game is going to be absolutely amazing. Like, there's no doubt in my mind.
Yep. One of the first things that I have been thinking about the most as I've been like kind of watching some of his streams and seeing him with, Tim the Tem and other stuff like that. I'm like, man, the audio itself is going to be immaculate in this game.
Yeah, it will be the greatest.
So with that being said, Dr. Disrespect for me actually wasn't really someone who was on my radar that often. And I know that like for some people that may be like kind of a really weird thing that like I applied for this, I went for it, and I'm not even someone who really like followed Dr. Disrespect. But the reason for that is because I was someone who always watched people like Shroud and Tens and these professional players, because again, I am interested in high level gameplay and being able to dissect some of that stuff and trying to learn as much as I can from those type of people. So I just never really watched Doc because he is a showman. He is very good at video games, and I'm not saying that he doesn't play at a high level, but he puts on a show, and at the time I wasn't watching streams for a show. I was watching streams to learn how to get better at the games that I was watching. Right. It's one of those things that is definitely very, very interesting that, hearing Dr. Disrespect is making this development company, and then learning that it is not just a bunch of people that he is hiring on. It is veterans of game development in multiple of the favorites of Call of Duty, Halo, Gears of War, and these arena shooters and all of this other stuff. That is one of the things that pushed me in that direction.
Yeah, and I think that you're right. And it does surprise me, by the way, that you weren't a fan of Doc, just in the sense of how loud he was on every platform. But because he was the face of the purple platform for a very long time, obviously. Yep. But, kind of leaning into the NFT thing and all of the talent that Doc has around him and has handpicked, really. I'm the least concerned about this as a new IP than I have been probably about any new IP that I have seen in the last 5 to 10 years. Because of all of just the ridiculous talent that is on this studio now is nuts. But
right.
Breaking into the NFT thing just a little bit, because the NFT game, quote unquote, has a lot of really negative stigma around it that isn't undeserved to a large degree. I have dabbled in NFT stuff before, but the difference for me, and I think the difference that a lot of people don't bother to see, is utility, right? So NFTs, for the sake of NFTs, are a scam. It's just the way it is. However, NFTs in the sense of utility are actually an incredibly powerful tool. And I was actually talking to my wife about this a while back because she was asking me to explain NFTs and things like that. And the simplest way, if there is an NFT bro anywhere around here, they're going to just absolutely scold me for this. But it is the most, it's the simplest way I can describe it. Essentially, what this has allowed us to do is buy an infinite concert ticket. Right. So if there was a way for you, like for me, Halsey is one of my favorite artists of all time. I think she is an incredible talent. Right. If there was an opportunity and to buy a thing that allowed me into every concert she ever performs for the rest of time, I am going to buy that thing. And that's essentially at the absolute base level what an NFT is. And so because it's not a physical thing, right? It's a digital thing that you can hold on to.
Right, so exactly.
I think the way that Doc has utilized NFTs so far with Midnight Society has actually been very impactful, because it is a very limited run, right? One of 10K. And if you got access to it and chosen to be a part of it, then you have access to these founders perks, things like events, right? You have utility in
Right.
game, you have utility in the real world that you get to go to these events, you get to have some say so, you get to vote in these polls. And so I think that the way that Midnight Society currently has it set up, like I said, obviously none of us know how that's going to impact gameplay, but currently it is revolutionary in not only the gaming space but in the NFT space, and I'm really excited to see where they take it. So
Right. And with that being said, I kind of want to bring up potentially the elephant in the room with Paul Tassie's tweet being about what was said. And I don't want to get too much into this because this is not something to go after anybody. This is not something to end up making a big deal of something, because I know that a lot of people are kind of trying to. The reason why I'm bringing this up is because of the way that media works in general. People like Paul Tassi and other reporters try to find important little snippets of information in specific things, and it ends up, in my opinion, not being able to tell the whole story, but they're getting their point across that they're supposed to. So Paul's tweet being just a little bit of information about putting out vertical slices every 6 weeks for early members to play. Goal is to offer feedback to help steer development, and members can vote on what features to pursue or cut. And he's bringing up game dev folks, is this viable? Now, the reason why I want to bring this up is because, in my personal opinion, I think that he is looking at this in the wrong light, because even the way that the tweet is structured kind of shows like he is expecting that us out of the 10K of founders are the ones making the decisions about development, when we're going to go into the blog post itself and kind of dissect it as we go through. You'll see that that's not necessarily the case. It's described a little bit differently, and it makes it end up seeming, like Moose just said in the chat, it makes it end up seeming far more negative than it really, in my opinion, is supposed to be.
yeah, so Paul's a guy that I have followed for a very long time. He is a Forbes writer, right? Mm-hmm. And he's probably been writing about video games and video game industry stuff for probably over 10 years now, if I were to put a number on it. And the way that Paul runs his Twitter specifically, just kind of the back and forth on this entire tweet, because I know we're going to get into some of the stuff underneath it, but Paul really is just an inquisitive guy, right? He is very overtly anti-NFT, but a lot of people are, and I understand the concern with that.
Right.
But the way that he approached this, I think, was legitimately asking the game dev people, given these subset of things, is this something that can actually happen? And I think that Doc, being Doc, underneath, I think it was on the screen there, said, damn, we forgot to run our plans by the game dev folks. Hope they say it's okay. And something which is hilarious, very on brand for him.
Yep.
What a lot of people, I think, forget on Twitter specifically is that Dr. Disrespect on Twitter is still the character Dr. Disrespect. Like, it's still, it's not Guy. It's Dr. Disrespect saying these things. And not to say that Guy doesn't have the same feelings, quote unquote, or whatever, but Doc is going to say it in a very specific way. And I don't think any of this was attacking until you get deeper into the tweet with all of the NFT bros at the bottom.
Right. And it is a very, very, clear cut, even just going through some of this stuff, you have people who are very clearly attacking the NFT side of it, and then you have people founders and stuff like that who are trying to kind of defend it. And one of the things that I'd like to go back to what you said on is the whole point of this NFT in particular is that it is a pass. It is a little ticket that you have that gives you, like you said, utility rather than just a picture that is for some reason worth $1,000.
Yeah.
Like, this is giving more than just what basic NFTs that I have seen is really about. And that's it's kind of one of the points that I want to kind of go over throughout this podcast is kind of trying to clear some of the air here and give a little bit more insight from different perspectives from me and Spencer to kind of like just theorize and think about how exactly this is going to move forward, because
the thing with this too is like and I think this way about a lot of utility based NFTs. If Doc had opened this up and just been like, "Hey, we're going to happen to pick 10,000 people, and those 10,000 people get to do these things," no one would have said anything. But the fact that there is a digital asset that is associated with it, and it is a NFT, it is a non-fungible token, people are losing their mind. And so like it's just the fact of the matter that people are so biased against just anti-NFTism, like it's unreal what I'm seeing both ways here. Like it's crazy.
Exactly. So with that being said, I want to kind of deep dive into this blog post and really just have conversations about what the blog post says, so we can just go through it and then make a decision based off that for initial impressions. Because like I said earlier, I am here because I want to play this new IP. It feels like we have been stuck in this really awkward loop in video games right now, where the only new games that are coming out are not new games. They're Call of Duty, they're Halo, which Halo, I mean, obviously 8-year gap, whatever, but they're the same IP, right? And anytime there's a new IP that's about to release, it is one of those things that like it is just hit with so much I want to say unrealistic expectation, because at this point, regardless of if you think the game is good or not, the idea of these Call of Duties, Halos, Battlefields are completely fleshed out and polished to the point to where there's no more exploring it. Like we're literally, I love the Call of Duty series, and I am way more excited for Modern Warfare 2 than I should be, but we are literally just revisiting Modern Warfare 2 as a new game. Yes, it's going to be new engine, new all that stuff, whatever. It's still Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. So I am excited for a new IP, a new idea, and that is why I put my ticket in, my vote in to go into this.
Yeah, and I just, I'm with you on that. A lot of, I think gamers in general, all of us just get really excited about new stuff, but we also have, our generation of gamers specifically, hold on to the stuff that we were playing when we were 13, 14, and we want those feelings again, but I think a lot of us can't separate the feeling of a good, solid, strong game from the nostalgia of Modern Warfare 2 or OG Battlefield games. Because frankly, Battlefield 2042 is one of the worst games I've ever played in my life. Like,
true,
it is
true. I can agree with that. I can agree with that.
It was so bad, and it's still bad. And it's just, I miss old school Battlefield, but I'm just never gonna get that feeling again.
Right.
And I'm very excited for new, good games, and I'm very, very excited for Project Moon because of that.
Right, and similar to what Honan said in chat, it kind of like how Overwatch 2 is pretty much just recycled Overwatch. And
it's exactly recycled Overwatch, just somehow worse.
Right, and that's one of the things, right? And so we're going to go into the blog post now. We're going to kind of just dive into this paragraph by paragraph at a time. So I want to point out as well real quick, I was not part of the ARG experience that happened through the Midnight Society Discord. Same issue with the MMOC, Kelly. Yeah, exactly the same issue. Like, there's just so much stuff that feels recycled that I am begging for something new. So we're going to kind of go through this paragraph by paragraph. Again, what I was saying, I did not participate in the ARG. I know that some people actually got a little bit of information, like as far as the idea that they're going for through this ARG. So, for example, when relevant, I'll bring up those little things here and there. And just kind of go over things. By the way, I just got a little notification, everybody, ladies and gentlemen, that an ad is going to start in 5 minutes. Unfortunately, it is the way that Twitch is, so I will make sure to keep an eye on that. I will snooze it if possible, but if I see it go off, I will hold to make sure that you guys get all the information.
If you're watching this on a YouTube channel later, there will be no ad, because you don't have to worry about it.
Yeah, and I will make sure that the video I put out for this as well is done correctly. But so ARG, I was not experienced in it, and I'm kind of sticking on this in hopes that the ad is going to pop up and then you guys won't miss information. But supposedly that ARG experience was actually really enjoyable, and it has you have very specific things that point to things like Tarkov and extraction-based modes like that, in the form of being able to extract at multiple different points throughout the match. And we'll be able to, I'll get into that a little bit once that rolls around into discussing what type of game this supposedly is. Let me see here. I'm checking myself if an ad is about to start. Fucking better not start. Anyway, so from top to bottom, to the chosen, welcome to the existence. You have successfully claimed your place in a brand new era of game development. To those still waiting, hang tight and stay vigilant for future minting opportunities.
I would like to point out how absolutely hard that introduction goes.
Yeah, very true. I can agree with that. So to me, that kind of says that as far as future minting opportunities, what are we talking about? We already know that founders are going to be 1 in 10,000. So are we thinking that maybe there's going to be another subgroup aside from just the claws that are around?
Yeah, so for me, I figure so. I feel like a lot of this game is going to have a very particular niche in the sense of I believe currently, and I don't know if it's been confirmed anywhere, everyone that plays this game will have to have minted an NFT. Some of them will be free, obviously, in my opinion. I think that that's kind of where it's going. But to be involved and play this game, you will have to mint an NFT whether you like it or not.
So to cut off real quick, I do remember seeing some stuff about this. It's not that you necessarily have to mint an NFT. If I remember correctly, you just have to have access to a wallet, but you don't actually have to mint an NFT or anything like that. As far as I know, you can play the game from 0 to 100% completely without needing to mint an NFT or buy into an NFT or anything like that. But you do have to have access to a wallet, I believe.
What I mean by that too isn't the sense of like you have to pay and set up, your MetaMask and all of that stuff. Mm-hmm. I mean, in like if you open this game, the game will have, because they set up a Midnight Society wallet essentially for us.
Right.
I've moved mine over into my MetaMask because I prefer it there. But if you log into the game, you're given a variant and quote unquote you have minted an NFT and it's sitting in your wallet. You don't have to do anything with it, right? You'll have access to your Midnight Society wallet or whatever, but like you're gonna get it and you're gonna be involved. So suck it up. That would be my interpretation of what's happening here.
Oof. We got hit with the ad just as we were getting into that.
I didn't.
You didn't? Okay, weird. Strange. All right, so I'm going to give it about 10 seconds. Although I know that I think the ads are 30 seconds altogether. But we were talking for a little bit, so I'm going to give it 10 seconds. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2.
Yo, 1. Twitch is great.
0. Welcome back, everybody, if you had an ad. we love the way that Twitch has set things up here. For ad-free experience, you can do what Twitch wants you to do, subscribe, or you can just wait till the YouTube video comes out. Either way. Or, depending on how this goes, I might actually upload it to Spotify as well. That'd be cool. Anyway, what we were just saying is that I kind of agree with you, Spencer, that, right, when you start a profile, which you are going to need a profile for Midnight Society to play this game. When you start a profile, they basically make a wallet for you, and then your person, your character, is created from there, and then that is basically, in a way, a non-dedicated, weird NFT type of a thing. But you never need to spend money or never need to actually buy into the NFT process to play this game.
Right.
Let me make that very clear, because they have been making it very clear themselves, Midnight Society has. Now, going to what to expect. Midnight Society is building the next AAA competitive PvPvE first-person shooter, and we're doing it openly and transparently, one snapshot build at a time. We will release snapshots, which are player experiences focused around specific milestones, every 6 weeks. Every milestone has feedback parameters around weapons, player abilities, gameplay, and play spaces within the game. Our team will be collecting feedback, prioritizing it, and applying it to upcoming snapshots. So, I'm going to pause right there for a second, because this right here already gives a little bit of information. Every milestone has feedback parameters around weapons, player abilities, gameplay, and play spaces. So, player abilities. I don't know exactly what abilities are going to be in here, but this gives me Apex Legends. This gives me Blood Hunt. This gives me Rogue Company. This gives me Valorant. Like, any FPS that has ability usage in it means that core gameplay is going to have player abilities wrapped around the gameplay loop itself.
Has to.
Otherwise, what are they, one-off things that, like, I mean, it would just be equipment at that point, and they'd put it as equipment.
Well, and
I'd be interested to see what they're doing with it.
Yeah, thinking kind of around Doc's experience with Rogue Company specifically, which is a great game, by the way. I don't play it really anymore, but again, anything Doc is involved with, I'm pretty well there for it. So, excellent map, BT Dub, and that's kind of my thought process, or kind of where my line of thinking went when I read it. Was like, oh, okay, it's a Rogue Company-esque deal, but what I don't know is how the variant stuff plays into a lot of these things, and that I think is what I'm more excited about than anything.
Right. Access Pass holders have exclusive access to download these snapshots. Dev roundtables, both online and in person, will allow us all to discuss the design of each feature, weapon, balancing, and other core gameplay loops. This is a big, important thing to say while we are 36 minutes into a podcast. Access Pass players have full rights to stream and create content from the early playable snapshots and share screenshots, assets, live streams, or any other content they create from the build and its supporting visual variant guide. I am saying that out loud because that is exactly why we are doing this right now, because we are allowed to. We are allowed to talk about it. We're allowed to go over this stuff, which is fantastic. It is amazing that we are able to create content based off of the stuff that we are seeing and the stuff that we get hands on.
You're a scam, Chief. I do believe that this is massively important because it's full transparency, right? So being a Destiny player and have been for like 8 years, the whole transparency thing has always been really important to me because Bungie is incredibly transparent, even if we don't deserve it, about their game. And I think that this takes it to a whole new level. We have never seen this kind of access to a game development process, and being that they're putting it in the hands of essentially their players and their content creators is incredible. And I really can't wait to share my experiences with it, and us, probably continue to do this exact thing that we're doing right now, going forward with it. I do want to point out, anytime I see PvPvE, I do get concerned because, again,
just because of Gambit,
I'm a Destiny
that's the only
player.
reason you're concerned about.
I'm a Destiny player, and Gambit is ass, and it makes me nervous. It does. It makes me nervous. But again, anything Doc touches is gold to me. So I am excited.
So with that being said, I can understand your concerns with that. However, being somebody who has played games like Tarkov, The Cycle, and other things that do incorporate PvPvE, I will say that it can be done to a successful degree.
Oh, it can, for sure. Ark's good, Tarkov's good. Like, there's a lot of really good PvPvE experiences. Just the one that I play a lot of sucks.
Right. Now, one of the other things that I want to say is, reading this, the feedback and discussion we have with our Access Pass holders after each snapshot drop helps shape the contents of the game. Now, kind of going back to Paul Tassie's tweet and talking about some of this stuff, I don't think that this is something where, yes, we as Access Pass holders are going to be able to have the right to vote on specific features and other stuff like that. But I don't think it's anything as drastic as, like, them saying, all right, so the devs want to do this. What would you guys like? Like, let's say that we're talking about stuns in Call of Duty, and the devs go, we want to tone down stuns a little bit because they're blah blah blah, and then the community goes, no, leave them and make them stronger, and they decide to go with the community. I don't think that's what's about to happen here. I think that what is more so happening is, for example, one of the key things that they were saying is going to be happening July 29th is getting a feel for the first assault rifle and the recoil and everything of that. I think that more so what this is going to be as far as feedback from these Access Pass holders, from us, is going to have more to do with kind of fine-tuning the specifics of each individual weapon and getting actual solid feedback from people before pushing it out and then having to tune it afterwards and having to nerf it or increase it or buff it, whatever. I feel like it's more so to try to get information beforehand rather than sending something out and then it being either way too powerful or way too bad and having to run around to try to fix things. I think they're trying to get information first so they can make it as good as possible beforehand.
And here's the thing. I think a lot of people that are opposed to this are missing. This is literally what game developers and playtesters do. Like that's all right. This is. It's just moving the responsibility of playtesting to the community of people who are going to be playing the game. That is all this is doing. This is not like setting up like what you're saying. It's not, hey, Lemon, what's your vote on flashes? What is your vote on this ability? Does it need to be up 10% or up 15, buddy? No, we're not game developers. We're playtesters. Right. And so being that we are, I would venture a guess that the majority of founders are very deep in the video games and video game culture and video game experience. Mm-hmm. We know what we're doing to some degree. Are we game developers? No. But we play games and have been for, well, it's damn near 20 plus years, depending on where some of you fall, right? I know how to play a video game. I got that pretty well figured out. And so being able to do that and test these things and touch these things, not only will I be able to voice my opinions and voice what I think in, from the lens of a video game player, but it also allows more data going into the developer's hands. So like the actual playtest data from the snapshot is open and available to these devs. It's not like it's just voices and opinions. It is data, and that's the important part I think a lot of people are missing here.
Right. Kelly says in chat, if they do this well, it will be a game changer. The same issue exists in regular software space, which I work in, showing full transparency to your stakeholders and users that each step is scary, but if managed well, pays off in the end. And I completely agree with that.
Yeah.
And I think that's one of the reasons why Paul's tweet was the way it was. And Kelly, if I'm not mistaken, I think I saw your tweet responding to him talking about this. One of the things is, I was actually talking to my parents a little earlier. Whenever something actually new comes within a space, it is immediately like looked at with a little bit of caution and even a little bit of pushback immediately, because something new is scary, and scary is bad, and we don't want bad, we just want what works.
Which is why I think that Joe Blackburn, who is the game director for Destiny, his tweet was so important, I think, because his tweet was like 2 or 3 down on my thread, but it says innovation comes from trying stuff that others think won't work, so maybe they'll discover something cool. And I think that the game development community, at least the higher powers that be as a whole, think that. Like, games need innovation, and we have been lacking it for a very long time. And so I'm excited to see what this does to the space as a whole also. It's not... And there was another in here too, and this may be a little bit of a tangent just talking about this, but there's someone down here. I also have played old school RuneScape probably as long as I played anything else. And Jagex implemented this horrifically, like to a level that is just awful, because they just literally let the community vote on things, and whatever the vote is what happens. And that is not what is happening here. And I think that distinction needs to be made. Right,
exactly. Chief, thank you for the resubscription with Prime. I'm glad you found the button. No, but I 100% agree with you. I think that this is going to be something that, yes, having a game this early on in development into the hands of the players themselves and getting information, I think this is going to be way more of a positive than a negative, especially being able to stream and create content based off of this stuff is going to get it to more people, and they are going to get feedback from there as well. Fact. So I feel like this is going to be more of a positive than a negative. I completely understand the questions and the concerns that, Paul and everyone else that were sitting there have with this approach, because it may end up making it so that the game development itself goes a little bit slower. And that's one of the other things to talk about as well is when you have this type of integration with your players and with your community, a lot of people were questioning whether 6 weeks is enough time in between these snapshots to be able to actually, flesh out each of these snapshots. And I don't know, we're going to get to what you think about that when it gets to how you think it's going to go as far as if it's going to be enough time or not. Personally, I think that these snapshots that they're giving us are kind of isolated, secluded game builds using the assets that they are already developing on the main game itself, rather than it being, oh, we only have the hideout ready and one gun, here, test it, and then tell us what you think.
Yeah, I fully agree. I think that the 6 week thing, in terms of engineering, like software engineering, 6 weeks is a very, very, very tight amount of time. And I think that is the quote unquote scariest part about it. A good thing, however, is that we aren't playing a polished version of the game every 6 weeks. That's not what it is. And Paul mentioned something about that, I think, maybe in a reply. It may have been in the main tweet, but you can see in the screenshots that are on your screen right now, this is a bare bones play testable game. That's what we will be having access to. This will not be a AAA title out of the gate ready to go every 6 weeks. That's ridiculous to think.
Exactly.
Now, I think Paul is right that it will take a very, very, very open mind from us playing these games that have never experienced something like this to understand that it is the ultimate in ultimate alphas. But with that open mind from the people that are involved in this project, I think that is a very good thing, and will overall it will work out. I'm very excited about it. Vertical slice, very small parts, test each iteration. Exactly.
Right, right. Kelly, thank you for the follow. I really appreciate it. I hope you guys are enjoying this so far. This is the first, I guess you could call it, episode of this little podcast. We'll figure out the logistics and the names of it later. But
Yeah.
next bit that I want to go into is this screenshot right here. So we'll go into the screenshots all together once we get past this next part, because the screenshot here itself, the tower being in the middle is a huge point to me, because that to me tells me that this is not going to be, this isn't going to be the background. This is what they're focusing on. Now, I know that this is supposed to be, from what I've heard of and what I've read, a battle royale type of a game inside of a tower. Now, they are calling it, Witness the Birth of Project Moon, they are calling it a vertical extraction shooter. Spencer, what is the first thing that pops in your mind when you hear vertical extraction shooter?
Pain. No, I have not played a bunch of VES games. They honestly have never really been a mainstay for me. But in my early childhood, when you're thinking of things like, when I look at the screenshot and think VES, like things like GoldenEye, stuff like that really kind of pop into your head because of the way that things are set up and all of that stuff. But I'm very excited to see Doc's take on a VES game, with us being able to play test things. Also kind of opens the discussion to what player abilities are going to impact on a VES, which is going to be interesting, I think. But yeah.
So with that being said, talking about player abilities, I have a little bit of a theory that I want to run by you. You know how on our access holder profiles, it has a title for us, like Crimson Infiltrator in my case, or what was yours?
Oh, I need to pull that back up. I don't even have that. Oh my God, I'm not logged in? Jesus Christ. Please hold. Midnight Ronin. Dope.
Midnight Ronin. Interesting. Yeah, so mine is Crimson Infiltrator.
Get good.
Okay. Arctic Brew. See, Kelly has a completely different one as well. So with that being said, I am very interested in if the abilities have something to do with that secondary tag, like Brew or Infiltrator or Ronin or anything like that, or if those tags change based on the weapons you're holding or anything like that. Because I was thinking about this for quite a bit of time when I first minted my pass. I got my PFP. I was like, this looks sick. I have like a pink red visor, a red helmet, a red coat, and I'm called a Crimson Infiltrator. So I was like, am I a Crimson Infiltrator because of my red features, or am I going to keep Crimson Infiltrator if, as we are playing the game, I swap out items and now don't have any of that stuff as a identifier? You know what I mean?
By the way, I don't think you have mine. I'll have it on the video, but my logo, right? I am TH3 Spencer V. My brand colors are purple and white and black. Literally, my variant's visor is a purple 3, and the entire color scheme of my variant is purple, black, and white. And if that's not a sign that I need to be here, I don't know what is.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the most beautiful thing I have ever seen. But I agree. I believe that the titles there are going to hold some sort of significance long term, like not just based on what you're wearing, because that moving the stuff around doesn't make a lot of sense to me. I think it does have something to do with the initial mint itself, but not long term what you're going to be holding or wearing or whatever.
Right. Now, as far as my first impressions of vertical extraction shooter, okay,
I'm not a big R6 fan, by the way. So it's like...
My mind went wild. Honan, you're a Crimson Infiltrator as well? Let's go. We're already too strong.
Trash, dude.
My first impression of vertical extraction shooter is wonky to some people. Okay. Now, for those of you who don't know, I am a weeb through and through.
Fact.
100%. Okay. So when I read Project Moon is a vertical extraction shooter and there was a giant tower in the middle, I immediately thought of the show on Netflix called High Rise Invasion.
Never heard of it.
So let me give you a little snippet of what High Rise Invasion is. Okay. I don't think that it's going to be exactly what the game is based about, but the core of High Rise Invasion is these people are brought to the rooftop of a tower. Okay. And the very beginning of the show is very chaotic and there's just like hysteria going around, okay? But people are brought to the top of a tower. And these NPC like people have masks on, and these masks, turns out, not getting too much into spoilers for people who want to watch, but these masks basically tell them what to do. Like they can't control themselves when they have these masks on, okay? So these NPCs are literally just going around either trying to kill the regular people or trying to force them to jump off the tower. Okay. Now, here is the part that makes me think exactly a vertical extraction shooter. It is in the middle of a city that this is happening. High rises all over the place. There are rope bridges that attach tower to tower, and you can only go down about 3 to 5 floors in each of these towers. Everywhere else is completely sealed off, and there is no way to get to the bottom. The only way that you leave that place is by getting to a helicopter that takes you out. That only comes every couple days in a random location. So immediately what I thought of when I thought of a vertical extraction shooter was, imagine these towers, right? That you only have access to the top half of these towers. And the map itself is large enough to accommodate, I don't know, 8 to 9 of these towers, maybe 10, right? And, well, you say Jesus, but realistically, it'd all be skybox below you for the most part, right? Or at least in my theory. So the only way to get to extractions is by crossing XYZ bridge. The only loot that you're going to find is a little bit on the rooftops, but you have to go into these towers to actually find the loot. And periodically, let's say, for example, they decided to do like a persistent server like the Cycle or something like that. Periodically, these helicopters come in, and that's your extraction point. And you can stay in for as long as you want or as short as you want. That is what came into my mind when I read vertical extraction shooter. Now, obviously, that's not what this is going to be from what I've been reading, at least. But that is immediately what came into my mind, was the idea of a bunch of these high rises all over the place, bridges connecting all of these towers, and all of the loot is within the top 5 floors of all of these towers, and you need to get in there, get your loot, and get out to one of those extraction helicopters while facing the fact that the only way across is a rope bridge. And what do you see in these snapshot pictures?
Bridges.
Bridges. Bridges.
I mean, that's a game I'm absolutely playing. You know, like that'd be dope.
So, our high-level gameplay goals are to capture the essence of arena shooter level design with the scale and scope of battle royale player counts and the session-to-session gameplay mechanics of extraction-based shooters.
Very excited for that exact description like that. Like that is it, right? I feel that should be the goal of every FPS game ever, but clearly it's not. The level design with the scale and scope of BR player counts is big. Obviously, Doc was a proponent of Warzone back when it was good, and he's just too old to play Apex now. So it's it just is. It's just the way it is.
Love you, Doc.
Love you, Doc. I'm very excited to see how, even as someone as talented as Doc and all of these people are able to bring these arena shooter map designs into the scale of a BR shooter, because so far no one has really been able to do that super effectively. I mean, every iteration of PUBG, of DayZ, of Warzone, you pick, have not been able to do both effectively, and I'm excited to see how all of this stuff plays in together, where we as a player base can, say, hey, this, and this is what we're experiencing and seeing, and they make those changes strictly based on, the collective experience of that. And then session-to-session gameplay mechanics of extraction-based shoot. I mean, that's, to me, pretty straightforward. That's pretty self-explanatory. The only mechanical difference, I think, would be the addition of extra abilities versus something like an R6 or something. But
so, with that being said, though, I just had a thought come into mind. Sorry for cutting it off, but I just had a thought come into mind. What if these abilities are part of the session-to-session? So the description of the variance is your helmet is sitting on the table. You walk up to it, you take your variant chip, and you move it towards the back of the helmet, and the electricity crackles as a magnet pulls the chip into the helmet, and your variant's visor lights up, right? That, I don't think it's verbatim, but it was pretty damn close. Yeah. And with that being said, the visor so far is the only true constant that we know of. So with that being said, what if the abilities themselves are part of that session-to-session gameplay, where you can go in with like components that allow you to use certain abilities, but they're like 1 to 2 time uses. So it's not like your character has a specific set of abilities because you are an infiltrator, but instead you go in and you can find these components to have different abilities to go into your next match with.
I don't think that will be far off from what actually happens. I think that the initial mint process will have something to do with it being that, like infiltrators or Ronins or whatever. But I think that it would be all verging on foolish to, like, because it's not like we had any say in what we got minted, right? It's completely random, right? So because here's the deal, right? If I'm a player and we'll take mine as the example, Midnight Ronin, and I am a Ronin, vertical player, like that's the vertical that I fall in. I can only use katana and kunai. Like, I'm out, dog. I'm not playing that game. Like, I'm not. So I think that your description won't be far off in the sense of, and I keep pulling back to things like Rogue Company, where you get to, essentially buy the ability that you want and that kind of stuff. So I think that's probably going to be more where this is headed long term. We don't have a lot of information on that right now, obviously, of course, but I think that's where it will be headed if I were to, take a guess.
Right. And I mean, one of the things that I think about, so obviously they want to have the scale and scope of a battle royale player count. So I mean, Doc was talking earlier today during his stream that he loves the story behind battle royale, where you land, the journey that it takes for you to get from landing with nothing to being the last team or the last man alive is part of the reason that he wanted to create this as the scope of a battle royale. Now, the only thing is, if we take from the ARG that I read up about a little bit, if we take the information from that, which I mentioned earlier that we were going to get into, it talks about a fire starting on the bottom floor and then rising up. Vertical extraction. But with that being said, does that mean that you have free access to explore the entire tower in its entirety for the majority of the time, and then the fire starts at a random spot? Because to me, having the player count of a battle royale anywhere from 60 to 100 people, depending on which battle royale you play,
To 150. I mean, depending.
Right. Inside of one tower.
Yeah.
Where are we spawning? Are we spawning at the top? And if so, do we have to fight our way down? I mean, it would still be an interesting concept to have to fight your way down instead of up, but that would immediately put in my opinion, a unfair balance of if you started at the top, you are in way less danger than anyone else below you because the fire is rising.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, I guess unless the fires started at the top and is working its way down, but the which just makes no sense to me whatsoever.
Right.
But I think that essentially, kind of leaning back to like your tower thing earlier, all of these, plethora of towers will be connected in some way, shape, form. Elevators, zip lines, bridges, subway, like whatever, trains. That eventually towers will start to leave, like as a whole.
Right.
That would be my thought. That would be honestly an experience I would like to see. Say there's 9, right? In a 3x3. Eventually, we're losing the top left tower. Like it's gone now.
Right.
And so it starts to kind of do that kind of thing. Or if there's, 10 and it's a circle or something. I don't know. But that I think I would like to see in a tower, quote unquote, vertical extraction, where it's these fires do almost start at random on base level floors and work their way up. With 150 people across 9 towers, I mean, you're talking about a wild ride.
So with that being, what was that one battle royale that was popular for a short time? It was kind of cartoony, set in a city, and as the zone quote unquote was closing, it was actually like pieces of like hexagon that just Hyperscape. If they did something similar to that, where, like you said, there are X amount of towers in a not the 3x3 square, and just randomly these towers are catching on fire and moving and like needing to move. If they're wanting session to session gameplay mechanics and having the ability to extract, then to me that means some of these matches are going to be anywhere from 30 minutes to 45 minutes, maybe to an hour.
Well, if you're talking BR level stuff and you're planning on winning, then yeah, that absolutely will take that long.
Because in my opinion, so let's say that we condense all of this stuff, right? Obviously, this is pure speculation for everybody listening and watching, but let's take the idea of high-rise invasion, because to me, these bridges are way too important to ignore. Like, there can't be just one tower, in my opinion. If we are building this type of a game where it's a vertical extraction shooter and the fire starts from the bottom and rises, then there's no way there's only one tower. Let's say that there's 4, just for the sake of it. Let's say that there's just 4 towers. And these bridges are what connect each tower from here to there, right? So now we are going into play of, you start the match, you start looting. Maybe you start at tower 1 and you're on like the 3rd floor, right? And you go, I need to get to tower 3 because I have like some intel or something that tells me that I need to go pick up something because I have a quest from one of the what are they calling it? The eyes? The forges or whatever that we're gonna have. Like maybe we have I have some intel. I have to go pick up something from tower 3. How are you gonna get to tower 3? There's only X amount of bridges that go from tower 1 to tower 2. There isn't anything connecting tower 1 to tower 3. So now you have to either choose, do I go through 2 to 3 or do I go through 4 to 3?
Yeah.
Right? And then now let's say you get all the way over there, you get in some gunfights, you're looted up and you're good to go. But it's only been 10 minutes. You have your quest done and you have everything else done. And only now is one of the towers starting to burn. Where are your extracts?
Yeah, we're talking long-term gameplay here.
Right,
long game.
Right.
Which I hope. I enjoy that type of experience.
So, in my opinion, one of the other things that Dr. Disrespect said in his stream earlier today was you should be rewarded when you win. So, and he firmly believes that. For those of you who are in the Champions Club and watch him.
And right? I think that this type of game, in the sense of like the NFT-based stuff, the loot-based stuff, Like all of that is super tied together, and if you're going to play the game, you're just going to have to accept it or go play something else.
Right.
The loot that you will be getting from this game will be unique, one of one stuff on occasion. And I think that if you win, you will be getting unique one of one or one of 10 or one of, even, depending on how many players there are, one of 10,000 could be incredibly rare, right?
Right.
So I think that's kind of where a lot of that's going to be. And I swear to God, if there isn't a ranked mode on full release of this game, I am going to uninstall it faster than Doc has ever uninstalled Warzone and not look back. Because I think that Doc, this type of game in a ranked experience with the loot system that they'd want to do, or are planning on doing, I should say, all of that would be so perfect. It would be so perfect.
Right. Now, I mean, with that being said, you have to think of it this way, too. So Tarkov, the cycle, extraction-based games, your objective is to extract. It is not to win. It is not to kill the most people. It is to leave, right? He wants this to be a battle scope of a battle royale. So what is the goal? If you extract, do you get a penalty? If you extract, do you end up with less like rare gear? Or if you stay the entire time and as more people extract, does it increase your chance of getting some of those more unique items and other things like that because you are staying in the shit of it? Like, there is a lot of things that they can do with this because, again, I truly believe that at the core, it is still going to be a battle royale. So you are going to want to stay as long as possible, and you are going to want to fight.
And I think that because of that and the way that this is ultimately going to end up, that this will be a hyper competitive game that frankly a lot of people aren't going to enjoy because of that. And because like we've seen the move in Apex recently where they've put incredible emphasis on late game play, which makes the competitive side of me absolutely love, because watching things like ALGS have been incredible. Like the last circle or whatever have been insane. Now, and the question then becomes also, what if only one team can extract? Or what if only 3 teams can extract, or whatever? There's a lot of mystery around that we haven't really unwrapped yet. But I think that you're right, that ultimately the longer that you're in it, the better your stuff's going to be on the other side, either with being the last to extract or being the only team to, or whatever the case is, you know what I mean? Like ultimately the longer you're in it, the better your stuff's going to be at the end of it, for sure.
Right, exactly. So, with that being said, snapshots aren't the full game, but rather vertical slices of key aspects of the game meant to focus the community's discussion around specific features, mechanics we're actively building. So again, to kind of reinforce what was said earlier, we are not getting our hands on the finished product. I honestly would love to move people's attention towards the most recent Skate trailer. And the reason why I'm saying that is because 90% of what they show you is very similar to what you're seeing in these snapshots, or these screenshots, where they are pre-rendered, or they are unrendered, like they don't have the final polish on them or anything like that. They're just the basic shapes and the basic character models that you see and performing X, Y, and Z action. However, 10% of that Skate trailer shows the polished game, and for someone who doesn't play skateboarding games anymore, it looks amazing for the little bit that they show you. And I believe these snapshots are going to be exactly like that. They are not going to be the final game, and they are not going to show us what the final game is specifically going to be yet, but they are going to show us what they're working on. They're going to be able to give us in the ability to give feedback before it's too late and already done. In my opinion, the less patches you have to put out, the better.
Facts.
And look at Warzone for that.
Bless.
Not necessarily specifically the developers' faults, but when you try to force something to be crammed into place too early. Bug.
It's not the developer individual fault, but it is Raven Software's fault, and I will die on that hill. Raven Software, I'm looking at you. You ruined my favorite game.
Every 6 weeks, these snapshots are updated with additional features, mechanics, and assets based on the discussions with the community. The content of each snapshot is complete enough to have actionable conversations and discussions around with the community That's a little bit of a weird sentence in my opinion, but that's fine. Discussions around with the community so that we can create specific tasks and iteration goals coming out of these sessions. We firmly believe that communities deserve access to games currently in development to begin playing games earlier and offer feedback to help steer development.
Yeah, this is the biggest W of all time for me. And the thing is, we talked about it earlier, there will be a lot of growing pains, quote unquote, from the fact that we're going to be looking at brown, just builder's beige walls.
Right.
Okay. This screenshot right here. Yep. And the gun is not going to be a full model. Okay. Your player's not going to be a full model. I'm assuming throughout the entire development process of this thing. Mm-hmm. However, that is a good thing ultimately, in my opinion. And I think that it will steer game development in a way that we have never seen before. Because, like you said, the less patches, the better. Looking at you, Raven. And being able to go, hey, once we get a little further into it, of course, because the fact that we're getting this AR at first, we're not going to be able to tell a lot about it. Other than, hey, I'm on M&K, this thing is just ludicrous. I cannot control it, and I am really good. I can't. This is not it. Mm-hmm. Just simple things like that. But once we get a couple more weapons, say we get the first sub in the next snapshot, we'll be able to go, hey, this feels ridiculously easier to use, even at much longer ranges than what I believe a sub should be compared to the AR that we played with, a month ago. And I think that looking at it long term like that, as opposed to just the vertical slice, when you put all these vertical slices together, well, I mean, we're about to make the best game of all time.
Right. All right. So, snapshot CL1000 player hideout. So,
exactly, Straza. Exactly.
So one of the big things to point out, and we're getting a little bit towards the end of the podcast, so we're just going to detail kind of the Founders event that's coming up, and then the snapshot that's going to happen. So the snapshot is called Snapshot CL1000 Player Hideout. The existence invades LA July 29th. We're just a few short weeks away from the very first Founders event. Sad I can't go. I tried to figure it out, but it's going to cost me around $1,500 just to be able to go, and that is not in the cards right now. Hosted in Los Angeles, this is going to be a special moment for Midnight Society, Project Moon, and committed Founders Pass holders. Now, something that I want to point out a little bit, just to make sure that everybody understands, this is not a event specifically so people can test a game and put it under scrutiny. At the core, this Founders event is supposed to be a chance to meet all of the founders and a chance to meet Dr. Disrespect, some of the
community
game devs.
Event is all it is.
It's just a cool event, and I hope that it's not seen as anything more than that.
By the way, this is exactly what NFT utility is. This is exactly what it is.
Exactly.
We bought our ticket for $50. That's exactly what happened here.
And this is again something else to point out. Actually, I just remembered, this is not only just for Project Moon. This pass also carries over through their other projects as well, as far as I have been told. So this isn't just early access to Project Moon. This is early access to every project that they have, which is fucking beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. And that, because the thing is, it is a Midnight Society Founders Pass. It is not a Project Moon Founders Pass. Those are two very different things. And again, NFT utility in this way is going to be amazing. And it says, down here, we'll get into it in a second, your variant's only the beginning. This is very, very cool what we're doing here. And it will not be appreciated to the level it needs to be for probably years to come.
Right. Exactly. Now, with that being said, anyone who's listening or watching, if you are a founder and you are going to this event, you better be hitting us up and letting us know the juicy details of anything that you find out, because we can't be there. So we have to live vicariously
through you.
so please let us know. But yeah, so the first snapshot represents two key elements of the game: the first weapon and the first play space. This experience was designed to elicit feedback on topics like recoil, balance, reload, accuracy, the gunplay. Being able to get your hands on the gun, feel the recoil, like Spencer said earlier, being able to see, if the recoil is way too ridiculous, if it is way too easy, reload speeds, reload animations, potentially. We don't know if they're going to have full length animations and stuff like that. While we are going through this game, I will be attempting, if possible, to test both controller and mouse and keyboard whenever possible.
I will not. Controller can kick rocks. Thank you.
Yeah, well, that controller got me the 20 kills.
I would. Speaking of this, by the way, I would like to point out that for you controller players out there, I feel like you are not going to have the advantage that you have in other games, because Doc's take on aim assist is my take on aim assist, and I cannot wait to watch you all just drown in the sea that is mouse and keyboard.
I cannot wait to put your words back in your mouth.
I can't wait for you to try.
I will be the top controller player, and then I will be the top mouse and keyboard player. Just you watch.
I can't wait for you to try, you crimson bitch.
So your variant is only the beginning. It has been incredible to see all your variants being minted and shared online. In case you need a refresher, here are all the great perks that come along with your access pass. Again, utility.
Whoa, hold on. So we missed the whole, like, what we're doing here. Like, this is a showcase, right? The second paragraph under that snapshot.
Oh, right.
They're actually going to be offering 3 unique shooting range experiences throughout this player hideout. And there are going to be buttons. And you push said button, and you activate a unique target practice, like situation, right? Think, like COD,
so
whatever.
similar to the COD trials stuff.
Exactly, COD trial stuff. So in each is designed to hone a unique skill with that first AR that we're getting. And then this is what we were talking about early on when we started talking. Stats on your performance are shared and stored locally, and you can share them with the community to compete for the best accuracy, time, headshots, or scores. There's going to be a lot of competitive nature around all of this stuff, which is awesome. I can't wait to see how the Discord really evolves around this. This is huge. Like, all of this data again is going into the local stores per se for these game developers to see and look at, and all of that stuff, right? All of that stuff. So I cannot wait. And then every 6 weeks, the play space will continue to grow and expand, introducing new elements tied to key new features and mechanics from each build.
Yes.
This, to me, says that they are going to take the map. The map is a strong word, but you know what I mean. That we're given.
The experience.
Yeah, and just make it bigger. Like, we're not going to lose the player hideout the next snapshot. That's what it sounds like to me. Now, we may be given different mechanics, different guns, different whatever, but the map itself and the experience itself is only going to get bigger, at least at first. So I'm very excited about everything in those paragraphs right there. Very excited.
Right. Honan saying, I wonder what game would be similar to the gunplay going to be presented in the game. To be honest with you, if I would have to guess, it really depends on the way that they decide to go about using the health system, because again, they have devs from both Call of Duty and Halo, which in my opinion have been some of the key pillars of arena shooter gunplay for a really, really long time, and the two games couldn't be more different. Halo, it's all about the shield. It's all about staying on target, taking out the shield, and getting that last headshot in, and being 100% accurate with it. If you miss your shot, you are most likely going to be taken out, or at least at high level Halo gameplay. You can't miss your shots. Call of Duty, on the other hand, very fast time to kill.
Trash.
Allows you to be able to have a little bit of leeway if you end up missing your shots or anything like that. Exactly. There's a lot of team shooting in Halo in order to be successful, like you said. So
communication is a requirement in high level Halo.
Right. It really just depends. It depends on the way that they want to go about this. If they're going to have armor in place, if they're going to have personal shields in place, I would guess that it would be personal shields with kind of the direction that it seems like the aesthetic is going, but it just depends on how they want to play it out. It could be similar to the cycle, where the cycle is relatively quote unquote futuristic weapons ish, but there's still armor elements into it. It just depends.
I'm also going to guess that whatever they do decide, it will be a TTK much closer to the Halo experience,
Right.
because of just Doc's views on video games and the CODs that he was involved in also.
Yep.
Because yeah, if you're planning on making a competitive experience, the current Call of Duty TTK is just
Way too fast.
absurdly fast. Is absurdly fast. Because say what you want to say about TTK, what games you enjoy, that's fine. If you enjoy the lower TTK and you enjoy like a hardcore mode, that's fine. But it is less competitive. It just factually is. The higher the TTK, the more competitive the game is. And that is just base level fact. And so I think that based on everything that we've read and seen and heard and the like behind the scenes level stuff that we've seen and heard, this is going to be a high TTK competitive game. How they do that, I don't know. I imagine, like you said, based on kind of some of these models in here, like you can see in the second screenshot, that is very clearly a little army man.
Right.
This is going to be. I feel like personal shields are going to be a thing.
And now the last kind of point that I want to kind of talk about is, as variants, as founders holders, please, please, please keep in mind you are one of 10,000 people. I know that some of the PFPs that have come out, some of the ones that you guys have acquired as your personal PFPs from these access passes, are not as maybe great cosmetically as you maybe have wanted, but please know you are one of 10,000. I want you to take a second, close your eyes, and think about the fact that
That
this
my
is
variant
supposed to
is
be
better than yours.
this is supposed to be a free-to-play experience. So imagine you sitting in a lobby. Let's say there's a social space. Imagine you sitting in a social space in a free-to-play game with 1 million players. You are one of 10,000 that are going to be a variant. There's not many else like you.
By the way, just to put that in perspective, how just minuscule that number is, I just saw this actually. I'm on Twitter. Players have collectively spent more than 25 billion hours, 2.85 million years playing Call of Duty. There are, which is longer than human existence, just for the record. The amount of video game players in the world is astounding. And we're one of 10,000.
Right. I truly cannot wait. I don't know exactly what they're going to be doing with the claws and the eyes and everything like that as far as like establishing them as characters, but like I literally cannot wait to be sitting in a social space, if there is one, with my freaking visor and looking around and not seeing a single other person with one.
Right.
Like I am so excited for that moment. Kelly says, I mean, people have paid the hundreds of dollars to basically wait and watch Ashes of Creation development for years now. And right. So, no, exactly that. I mean, realistically, what it comes down to is a lot of people are looking at this, and this was kind of the main point of this whole thing. A lot of people are sitting there and looking at this as this is a game that has NFTs all over it, and the only way you're going to be able to experience it is if you buy a bunch of NFTs, and only NFT bros are going to be playing it, and this is just a dead game because NFTs are stitched onto it. That is not the case.
That's such a stupid take.
We as Founders Pass holders spent the money to mint a experience that we are going to be able to have for years to come. And anyone who is buying this simply to have an NFT to trade, they don't belong in the 10,000. And I'm just going to say that straight out.
Yeah, I mean, they'll trade it out. It'll be they'll work themselves out. I'm not concerned about them.
Right. So that's all I had to say on that. Once again, everybody, thank you so much for coming and hanging out. I really appreciate everybody sitting through this first little podcast, this first episode of this, and I really, really appreciate you guys hanging out. And Spencer, thank you for actually sitting down and talking with me about it. I had a fantastic time. July 29th. Listen, once again, all you founders out there, you know where to come back to. You know where to give the information. We are in the Discord. Ping us. Let us know what is happening. And as soon as that snapshot comes out for all of us access holders, you better believe that we are going to be streaming it and making videos about it, because I am going to make all of you the best variants in the game. That's a promise. Do you have any final thoughts on this, Spencer?
No, honestly, I'm just beyond excited. I'm just super stoked for this entire shebang. I'm so we plan on doing these, by the way, it minimum every time there is news.
Right.
You know,
Right.
A new blog post, obviously on the 29th. I know that we will both be individually covering those in our own way and all of that. We won't be there in person, but digitally we will be there. I assure you.
Very true. Very true.
So
just going back through, Kelly, Absolutely Moist, Honan, Ryan Clay, McNasty, thank you guys for the follow. I really appreciate it. I hope to see more variants coming in during these discussions and everything else like that. And now we're gonna exit with Bakugo Seinin. Thank you guys Thank you guys for coming and hanging out. I really appreciate it. And I'll see you guys on the next podcast. Thank you guys so much. Have a good night.
bye.